You are watching the video for managing your email reputation. Can you all see my screen here?
Yeah, dude.
Yep. Sweet. All right. Let me throw up this chat. You guys can chat along here. Let me know what's up and when I miss, important facts. Okay. So managing your sending rep. I'm going to go over everything I went over in the old video. So if you've already heard this once, well, this is the recording for it. Essentially, canned spam, how does it apply? Why is it even necessary that we talk about it right now? So and I'm not a legal person. Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to give you legal advice. So anything that I say, you're going to have to go and validate this yourself. But after reading the canned spam law, as much as I wanted to read of it, what is great about that law is that it doesn't actually tell anybody who they can and cannot email. I know that there's a lot of people going around that are saying, well, I can email businesses, but I can't email consumers. No, you're wrong. You can email anybody that you want. There's no law against sending out emails. What CAN-SPAM does say is that you must honor an unsubscribe request. So if somebody says stop, then stop. And that is on a per entity level. Let me make that clear. A little workaround there. So if they say stop, then stop. Does not mean that you have to include a unsubscribe link in your email. It just means that you have to stop. Secondly, if what it does say is that you can't obfuscate, you can't try and hide who it's from. And that's why a lot of the email sending providers or ESPs like MailChimp and ActiveCampaign and Constant Contact have you put your address at the bottom. That's not a legal requirement. You don't have to have your address there according to canned spam. What you have to do is you have to not try and hide who it's coming from. So don't hide it. Just use your name, use your contact info, like your reply address, and you're all good. It also says specifically you can't obfuscate or use proxies to send your email. So you can't obfuscate the IP or proxy the IP. You can't pretend that you're sending it on behalf of somebody else. So you can't try to do phishing or or cloaking or anything like that. So if you don't know what those mean, great, you're not going to be doing it. So don't worry about it. Basically, we can send email to whomever we want. Now, the reason that you have heard of all of these laws is because of the ESPs are putting those requirements on you. Google has built its empire on delivering relevant content to its users. When you search, you get relevant content. When you open up Gmail, you get relevant emails. Spam is literally defined as irrelevant content that doesn't matter to you. And so Gmail's job is to separate, well, let's move all the spam into the spam folder and only give the relevant emails to these people to make them more productive. And that's why people go and use Gmail. That's why they love it so much. And that's why Gmail took off like it did, is because it got rid of all the spam in an age of spam. So it's the ESPs that are putting these requirements on you twofold. So from one perspective, Gmail as an email web client is saying, hey, we are going to determine a sender's reputation so we know what to do with their emails when they come in naturally. And so if they have a low sending reputation and they're not sending quality content, they're sending spam, then we're going to send them to the spam folder. And if that sending reputation drops below a certain threshold, we're going to just completely block their IP and their domain. And we're never going to even accept email from them. So you won't even find it in the spam folder. And so they do that based off of a couple different things. And I'm going to go over those items with you in this document, Managing Email Reputation. Because one of the primary things we want to do is we want to hit the inbox. All right. Now, how does this apply to the email, to the MailChimps and the SendGrids and the smtp.com and the active campaigns and ConvertKit? How does that apply to them? Well, they're the ones sending the emails, and they have a pool. So they're using a program, 40% of the internet uses it. It's called PowerMTA, and PowerMTA helps them manage that sending reputation. And what PowerMTA does is send out a lot of emails very quickly. It also has IP pooling and clustering available. So basically what that means is that as more servers are needed, they can configure one installation of Power MTA with a giant pool of IP addresses that are connected to nodes in their cluster, and they can just rotate and send with hundreds of different client node servers that are sending the actual emails to get all the emails out. All right. Why is that important? Because when you're a sender and you come into that ecosystem of, say, MailChimp, you're going to be dropped into the pool of those sending IPs. And if one person in that pool, if one person's sending reputation drops, it affects the entire pool. So MailChimp is very, very concerned about you being dropped into the pool and hurting their sending reputation. So they're on the lookout big time. They're on the lookout for things like bounce rates that jump from 0 to 10% or 0 to 20%. And Power MTA, the software they're using, has alerts built in to alert them specifically about these kinds of items. And so if your account, and they can see exactly who you are, exactly what your account is, they pull it up and they say, okay, oh gosh, Jonathan just sent out a massive email with 100,000 contacts in it. He didn't have any contacts the day before, or sends the day before, but he sent out today, and bam, we've got a 20% bounce rate. Very, very, very common for a purchased email list. And they're just gonna shut you off. They don't care if you have your data in their system. They're just gonna turn you off. Block that person. Our terms of service say we have every right to protect our business and our pool of IPs and our customers. We're just going to cut them off. We don't even care. So that's why when you're sending to this list of identity resolved customers, you could argue all day long this is a warm list, and MailChimp is going to turn around and argue back at you and say, you've never emailed these people before. I want to know their IP. I want to know that they've opted in. I want to know all of these requirements, because at the end of the day, I want to know that these people are not going to send you to spam, because MailChimp cannot control the content that you're sending. And it's the content that determines whether or not you go into spam. Okay. And so they're going to put these requirements on you. And if you're sending to this warm list, you could be operating just fine under the cloud, under the radar, and they wouldn't care. They wouldn't catch you. There are situations and circumstances where the content that you're sending may not be accepted well by these individuals that you've resolved with your in the identity resolution, and they send you to spam. Absolutely, 100%. And in that instance, in that scenario, the MailChimps of the world will drop your account and say, we have no interest in doing business with you, out of protection for the rest of our customers. So it is your job to manage email reputation. If you don't, if you're going to be sending to a list that you know is really warm, like if you're resolving these identities and you know, man, these guys love my content, I have a loyal following, then you can go buy the MailChimp and or a SendGrid server and operate just fine, just fine. Then there's the other scenario where if you're unsure, then you really just need to manage it yourself. Okay. And so that's what I want to show you today. Here's all of the aspects that you need to pay attention to manage email sending reputation, because at the end of the day, you want to hit the inbox, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So there's three main areas that contribute to the sending reputation and what they're calculating. Number one is the sending server. Every server, obviously, as a spammer, I've said this before, I'll say it again, I am a big ass spammer. I have sent millions and millions of emails to people, and my entire goal was just landing in the inbox. And I would be, I think, what was that website? The ClickBank or something, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna make millions of dollars with this ginormous consumer email list that I have. And I was like, nothing, people. It does. If you're not doing this right, you will not hit the inbox and you will not make any money. So I want to teach you the methods that I've learned spamming and landing in the inbox. The sending server. As a spammer, if you load up a brand new server and you send 100,000 emails the next day, guaranteed you're just gonna be, none of those are going to arrive ever. Google has determined, and Google's really the main people here that determine sending reputation. So I'm going to teach you how their algo works. Essentially, what they've determined is that time, how long the sending server has been doing business with them, determines sending reputation. And if brand new servers are most likely the servers that are going to be used for sending spam, especially if they come out the next day sending a high volume of these emails. And so if you launch a brand new server, guaranteed for the first 2 weeks of its existence, you're going to the spam box, right? That's just how it works. And they will, until, remember, Google's page rank, when people search for something, those people that show up on the top of the list are people that have been voted to the top of the list through backlinks. When a backlink is created to a web page, it's a vote to say, hey, that is a good web page. Google should increase its page rank. In the same way they do for their emails. So everything goes to the spam folder until the users pull it out of the spam folder. And those are votes to say, hey, no, these emails should go into my inbox. So a combination of the time you've been doing business with Google, along with the number of users that are pulling your emails out of the inbox, that they're marking them as important and they're replying to them, those are indicators, those are votes in Google's eyes that you should have a better sending reputation. Therefore, your sending server needs to be warmed, and that's what this is going to be all about. I'm going to give you an SOP to show you exactly how to launch a new server, new domain, and warm it properly so you can hit the inbox. Sending servers, number one. Number two is the receiving email address, okay? I don't know why I'm scrolling away from it. The sending email address. Can you guys still see my screen? Because I don't see the green box around my screen anymore. We good? Drop a 1 in chat. You still see my screen here. So the receiving email address is the other variable in this equation. Regardless of who's sending it, who are you sending it to? Google has been very tricky, and what they've done is say, hey, we have a lot of these email accounts that have never been used before. And so what we're going to do is we're going to convert a couple of them into what are called honeypots or spam traps or whatever you want to refer to it as. And so essentially, if any emails go to those email addresses, they're just going to immediately blacklist you, drop your sending reputation to Zill, and you're done. Okay, so if you want to kill a competitor, there's a trick. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Okay, so you want to make sure that the list you're sending to does not contain spam traps and honeypots, number one. Secondly, bounce rate. When you're sending an email address, the way that the protocols work is that they reach out and say, hey, Gmail, I'm going to send an email to this email address, info@gmail. Does it exist? Gmail will give like a handshake back and say, no, it doesn't exist. If your email system then says, well, I'm going to give it to you anyway, Google will say, okay, that's fine. I'm going to reply with an official hard bounce. This email does not exist. Okay. And okay, boom, you just got hit with a hard bounce, and it goes against your reputation. Now, those kind of hard bounces are what indicate an old list that has not been receiving emails, because typically if you're sending emails, as soon as your system gets a hard bounce, it will remove that subscriber from your list, completely unsubscribe it. You will not send to it again, okay? So you need to be on the lookout for hard bounces. Let me see here. Those are the two things: hard bounces, spam traps, all that go into is the second item. The third item, and this is the biggest, it is the content that you're sending, and it's going to determine whether or not people send you to spam or whether or not people reply to you. And that is the biggest indicator right now of your sending reputation. So let's dive in real quick. you have a lot of different elements here when it comes to your sending server. First off, I'm going to chat about a self-managed sending server. And this is the way I do it so that I don't have to worry about complaints from my email sending provider. I don't want to worry about limitations of how many emails I send. I don't want to worry about getting blocked and deleted and whatever. I just want to run a sending server. And so I manage my own because it is cheap and it is stable. All right. So the first element of your sending server is going to be your IP address. IP addresses are pretty much the heart of your sending reputation. It's kind of the base level. It's the hardest to change the sending reputation of an IP address. It takes a lot of emails to really do so. And any new IPs for the first like couple of days will just be poor sending reputation, and then it will start climbing. But IPs will climb much faster, be much more like Google will expect IPs to be ramped up quickly. That's the best way for me to put it. So you don't have to worry about sending onesie, twosie emails. As you can see from my daily volume per IP for warming, you climb quickly. Day one, 200, 500, 2,000, 10,000. Okay, so it climbs very quickly. They expect a new IP to be sending a lot. And so for an IP address, you set up an IP. If your customers are providing their own sending server, be careful, be warned. The last thing you want to do is blow up and get your customer's IP blacklisted. It's blacklisted for a minimum of 6 months before it drops out of the blacklist. And that's only if you're not sending emails. If you're continuing to send emails for those 6 months, you'll stay in there. So you want to launch your own IP address on your own VPS. Every VPS pretty much comes with one. And you need to warm it, okay? Yeah, it's easy to do, isn't it? Next, spam complaints and getting shut down. If you send too many emails too quickly, if Gmail blacklists you, they're pretty much going to file a spam complaint, okay? Yeah, if you get your IP blocked, you basically just have to launch a new server. There's no waiting, there's no applying to get it removed. You just have to shut down and terminate the VPS you have and just launch and rebuild your entire VPS. So try not to get it blacklisted. Also, if Google does blacklist you or they find it necessary to file a spam complaint against you, they will do so with your hosting provider, and it is a requirement by law of your hosting provider to disable and terminate your VPS on their behalf, on like the government's behalf, I guess. So if you're found to be a spammer, you just get shut down. And it's not a law, it's just kind of like a guideline, I guess, because the people I use, they don't care. They'll just shut down the one server. They don't shut down your whole account. They just shut down the one server. Now, a lot of hosts don't want their systems to be used for spamming, okay? So a lot of hosting providers have their own requirements to protect themselves and their IP pools. And so a lot of them will shut you down and be very aggressive against you if you're managing your own hosting, if you're managing your own sending server. So you got to watch out for them. And so I like to use Contabo. So you can see that right here. This is the guys that I use. They're huge, cheap, $8 a month for a sending, for a VPS that has like 2 CPU and 6 gigs of RAM. I mean, and like 150 gigabits of space. Like, it's really good. Okay. Yes, it's on a shared system. I don't care. Okay. I just launch a VPS. It comes with an IP address, and we go from there. Okay. And you boot up VPS. If you get a spam complaint, they do have to block that one server, but they don't block your other servers. So I think another colleague and I have like 200 sending servers with them right now. Okay, now I should say, as part of the sending server, you can't just have the VPS and the IP. You actually need software on that sending server to do the sending. Now, you can go to Fiverr and you can hire somebody on Fiverr to install a cracked, hacked, illegal licensed copy of Power MTA on your system. I don't recommend that at all. I chat with Power MTA all the time. We have a system with them, and we're going to be ending up paying them like 40 grand a year for their system. It is very advanced. Okay. They send 40% of the world's emails. I give you an indication of where we might be getting our database from, but they monitor that stuff heavily and they come cracking down. So I'm not one to go bother actually dealing with that. So as part of the sending server, I like to use a system called Posty.io. And Posty is just P-O-S-T-E. And basically what it is it is a collection of all of these different open source systems. And here it is here, if I could spell the image of that person was. But this is this is Posty. All this different software here, it's all open source. It's fantastic. They built out this entire server recipe that that is built into a container, and it contains everything that you need. And this Haraka here that you see in blue is the system that actually does the sending. SMTP does the sending. IMAP does the inbound email, and that's here, Dovecoat's IMAP. So you've got your inbound and you've got your outbound, all right? And with your inbound system, you're using Roundcube here, which Roundcube is just a webmail client that's open source. And so you can send and receive from your own webmail. You can connect all of your emails, like here, all of these emails that I have are connected to one, besides the Google email, but they're connected to one system. I've got multiple domains running, multiple email addresses. I can log in to use Roundcube, or I can use my desktop client. And so anyway, so this is Posty. I love using it. And I built out a very simple system here for, I built out this. And it is just a small repository that gives you a single one-line installation. You literally run this one line. We're going to do it today on a Contabo container, and boom, everything's set up and done for you. It is the easiest thing in the world. And so moving on back to here, as part of the sending, you need to have the software on the server to actually do the sending. So I use Posty for that. The alternative is to go with the Contabo, or excuse me, go with the MailChimps and the Constant Contacts and the Active Campaigns. And we covered the risk that you have there. No, Posty is not a paid solution. It's 100% free. You get all of this for free with that one line to install. They have other stuff for basically managing your server and your delivery logs, which the delivery logs are cool, and the DMARC is nice. And then you've got a couple diagnostics on here. But it's not super necessary. If you do choose to buy it, it's $350 a year for that. I'm not a part of that. I don't get any money from that. I just love using their system. So I use the free also. All right. There's also Pdox managed servers, and that's basically we use a combination of Posty and Power MTA. And the reason that we do that is Haraka, that Posty uses, does 5,000 email handshakes every second. 5,000 email handshakes a second for like on that VPS that I showed, that $6, $8 VPS, okay? To give you an example, the #1 rated sending server, that Power MTA, that sends 40% of all emails, only does 277 connections a second. And you need I think you need a 2 CPU as well. So huge difference, huge difference. Haraka is, they are in a whole nother category, brand new open source thing. The biggest difference though is that Haraka doesn't give us the reputation information that we're looking for. It doesn't allow us to dig in and actually figure out what's going on with our sending reputation. Why aren't our emails being delivered to Yahoo, but they are being delivered to Gmail? And so it gives me a complete and full dashboard that I can log into with Power MTA and dig around and be like, what's going on? What's wrong with these IPs? Is it the content? Is it the like, what's wrong? And I can fix the problem, move forward. So we actually use Posty in combination. So it's like one Posty server in combination with multiple Power MTAs that Posty is connected to, and it can send off all those. So we still get all the sending reputation that we want, or all the sending capability that we want, but we also get the ability to manage the sending reputation. So that's the difference with the Pdox managed stuff, is that if you guys don't want to set this up, you'll have the option to say, do it for me, and I will boot you up. I don't have the costs on you for that, and I wouldn't put it into a recorded video anyway, because we need to figure out what all the costs are going to be on our end for managing that, and how much demand there is, and make sure that we're covering costs. So you guys will be able to go to our pricing page and see it when that happens. It will be very reasonable though. We will be very competitive and allow you to, the biggest difference is that tomorrow it will be ready. I will give you full access to the system, so you can go and do all of this. All right. Essentially, we're already doing it. We're just making it available. So the biggest difference between a smtp.com and our managed servers is that they drop you into a pool, and they don't want that pool to get shut down. We actually launch you your own server. So you're in an isolated environment. If you screw it up, that's fine. We can just launch another server for you with a new IP address. So we don't care. We're not going to put you into a pool. Okay. Yeah, sweet. If you guys are interested in that, hit me up tomorrow. I'm going to do another video at that time, and you can have all the information then. I'm going to show you tomorrow how to take this server we're going to set up today and actually connect it with our email marketing platform intended for the purposes of sending kind of cold email. Unlike MailChimp or SendGrid, that's designed for hot and warm email, our system is designed for cold. So we're doing a lot of stuff to get people to engage with us. Anyway, so moving on, your sending domains. This is item number 2. Now that you have your server that can actually send the email, you want to manage your sending domain. And so I'll show you the Posty here. This is what Posty looks like. Super simple. And you can see I'm getting attacked every day with, I set this up yesterday by all these bad domains. I'm like, from China, I'm like, I don't want to receive emails. I just click on the IP, blacklist it. I don't want to get emails from those guys anymore. So I've got like my little dashboard here of everything that's going on, which is cool. And then I've got my virtual domains where I can go deploy any of my domains that I want, instead of paying some, Gmail or G Suite $7 an email address. I pay $8 and I can put all of my domains, all of my email addresses. I can use them for whatever the hell I want. It's fantastic. So, and there's no management of this. It's super stable. It doesn't go down. And then I can drop in, create all of the email accounts that I want. I can create auto forwarding email accounts. I can create anything I want. And then I've got these sieve filters here, which sieve is pretty cool. It allows you to set up managed stuff. So I can automate replies, and I can send emails to junk boxes and all of these just different things. So lots of really cool stuff that you can do with the Posty server. So managing domains, this is the second important thing here. Be careful, if you're sending from a domain that is like the customers, like say you tell the customer, oh great, yeah, we can take this warm list and import it right into your Klaviyo, import it right into your MailChimp. You be careful of that because you risk getting their domain blacklisted. And if that happens, they will not be happy with you. None of their transaction emails will go out. They will not be able to communicate with anybody. They won't even be able to receive email. Okay. Like they get blacklisted, like their primary money-making cash cow domain gets blacklisted, like you're going to lose an account. All right. So if they want to say, oh, just drop it into my MailChimp, be like, we better not. I don't know what kind of content you're going to send. And these guys need a completely different approach than you sending out a weekly newsletter. All right. We need to like try to work on getting these guys to reply. So I've gotten my domain blacklisted, beerjack.com, only once, and I did it overnight. I was like, oh, I'll create this new landing page on ClickFunnels and blast it out, and boom, next day done. Like 6 months in the can. There's a couple ways to do it. If you send out too many emails with a link to the domain, you will get it blacklisted. If you send out too many emails from the domain that have a poor sending reputation, you will get it blacklisted. So you want to make sure that you pick a sending domain that is not the customer's primary, but it's something random. It's something else. So I just come up with random statements. I just reuse domains that I bought for cheap, and I'm going to reuse them. A lot of times, you know, if I'm trying to be professional, I will do a spin of the customer's domain. So if they're like the Ads Lab, I would create the Ads Lab team, the Ads Lab support, the Ads Lab media buying. Like I just throw some other thing onto the end of their domain. And it's easier to get a sending domain blocked than it is to get an IP blocked. It's actually fairly hard to get an IP blocked. It's hard to move the sending reputation of an IP. It takes time and good emails, but a domain can be blocked very, very easily. And so what I do is I will put 3 domains on a sending server and just churn them out. If one of my domains get blocked, I'll just boot up another domain and get it warming. And I've got the full SOP for you to give to your VA for setting up a new domain and going from there. So yeah, any questions on that? This has been like long-winded here. Any questions so far on IPs or picking domains or whatever? I do not purchase the .xyz domains. Those have the worst sending reputation of all. You want to make sure that you pick a .com or a .co or a .net or an .org. Those have far better sending reputation than anything else. All right. So if no questions about domains, then we're going to go into setting up a domain. It's a little bit complex when we're setting up a new domain. We want to make sure, so email is not secure. And this is why it's complex to set up a domain, because I can send an email from my sending server on behalf of Jeff Bezos and make it look like it's exactly from him. And this is a major spoofing, major spam situation where hackers, I don't know if you call them hackers. The hackers are a little better than these guys. These spammers or fixers or whatever you want to call them, who are sending out emails on behalf of your bank, or sending out emails on behalf of Facebook and trying to get you to do something. And a huge phishing scam right now is sending out emails that look like they came from email, or look like they came from Facebook, that say, hey, somebody shared something with you. Click this link, and then you gotta, you gotta put in your password to unlock it, and they got you, right? Email's not secure. Power MTA, when you're sending out emails, there's no authentication. It does not try to determine who's sending this email. It does not try to determine that you have the authority to send the email. It just takes whatever you give it and it sends, okay? There's no authentication. So how does the receiving server, if it receives from your server, your emails, and then if it's receiving from some other person's emails that have the exact same headers and look exactly like your emails, how does it know the difference? It doesn't. So they came out with SPF, or Sender Policy Framework. And this is a DNS entry that you need to put into your DNS that authorizes sending servers. And so you can see this is what it looks like. Version SPF1, match my A record, or match this IP range, or match this sending domain, which then gets routed back to an IP. And so the receiving server is going to grab those. It's going to build a list of IPs, check the IP that just received an email from, and determine whether or not it is an approved domain according to your DNS. All right. So that's only one step. SPF still is not very secure, because like domains can be spoofed. Other people can jump onto this IP block. It can still be spoofed. It's not super secure, right? Oh, and IPs can be spoofed. So I can receive an email from somebody and they could have told me it came from your IP, and it would pass SPF, but it didn't come from that IP. So they came out with DKIM. And DKIM essentially is just like SSL, but for email. So the difference is that there's a large key that is stored in the DNS, and then when an email is sent, it includes an encryption bit in there. So the key is grabbed out of DNS to decrypt that email and then validate, okay, we sent it from somebody who has the secret key, is the only one that can encrypt this stuff, and we are able to match its decryption with the DNS entry. So it's good. So DKIM is good. It is a better system. You got to make sure your SPF is set up correctly. You got to make sure your DKIM is set up correctly. And then DMARC, it's another one. The sending server basically says, okay, when I get these emails, what am I supposed to do with them if I get them from a bad server? And so DMARC allows us to say, you know what, I don't have it all set up. Go ahead and accept all of the emails that you get that don't pass SPF and DKIM, or completely reject them. I like to be strict and just say rejecto amundo, like all of them, reject everything that doesn't pass. And I'll show you how to do the same. Then we've got the reverse IP lookup. If an IP comes in, those sending servers are going to look up that IP address and say, who does this belong to? And so you have to have your reverse IP PTR record set up so that it goes back to the DNS and everything looks good. Finally, your MX domain. It's important that you're able to receive emails to that domain. If it's strictly a sending domain and you don't have a way to receive emails, then your sending reputation is in the pooper. Okay, so moving on. Now that we've got our domains set up and configured correctly, we're moving on to the sending email address. So you got to make sure that the email is set. If it's a brand new email, then it's even from a good domain, its sending reputation is still in question. So you have to make sure that each of your sending identities, the actual email addresses, have been warmed properly. After you set all this up, you will be sending emails out from your server. They're all going to the spam folder, all of them. Not like nobody will get your emails. And if they continue there, nobody pulls them out, it will take you 6 months before they start getting dripped into the inbox. And you may stay there forever if you don't warm these properly. And the proper way to warm is to have people with real accounts pulling you out of spam, giving you positive reputation votes, marking your emails as important, all of those good indicators. So what I always do is warm these emails. I put them on a warming sequence where the emails chat with each other as like they're fake conversations. And if any of those emails go into spam, well, that fake conversationist pulls it back out of spam, marks it as important, and says, nope, back to my conversation. These, if anything drops off, bring it back, okay? And so that's proper warming. And the best way to get warming is to have conversations with email accounts that have a very, very high sending reputation. And that sending reputation will go on yours, just like backlinks in Google, okay? Turn it on, leave it on, always be warming. There's warming services out right now that are really, really expensive. This business is crazy expensive. Oh, that's not the one. Email warm up. I'll just show you here real quick. Mail warm, quick warm up in. That's the one I was looking for. Warm up inbox pricing. These guys, $9 a month per inbox. I suggest you set up 10 email boxes for every domain, 3 domains for a client. You can send 1 million a month, no problem. You can't do that at $9 an inbox on a monthly basis. $90 a domain, like that doesn't make, no way does that make any sense whatsoever. And yeah, wouldn't do it. So you just can't scale. And warm up inbox they have great pricing, man, for what they offer. Some of the best out there. You still can't touch it and be able to send at scale with a system like that. So I suggest Quick Mail is what I use. Is the only service I've ever been able to find that offers a free warming up inbox. This has been really difficult to find. And so I'll show in, and then when you're signing up, you're like, oh, you're going to charge me. I'll show you how to get signed up, get your emails warming, unlimited, no fees there. And then last of all, oh no, it's not last. I'm sorry. We're still on the receiving email. You want to be able to clean your emails, make sure you don't have honey traps, spam traps, dead emails, and you want to make sure you're not sending people who are high risk that will send your stuff to spam no matter what. And so I use another service here called IP Quality Score. Funny, that's IP Quality Score. They have a lot of validation and such, and including, you know, some device fingerprinting. Oh, I didn't know they did that. Oh, that's cool. Like we do. So email verification. So with their email verification, they do a lot of cool stuff. And you can see down here, you get 5,000 free email verification lookups per month. The Pdox platform for managing your campaigns is compatible with this. So you can just drop in your account, get free 5,000. You can verify emails exist. It will verify that they have their proper DNS and all of their set up correctly, that they don't have spam traps, that they're quality. Anyway, you can upload a CSV or you can integrate it with our platform. Lots of really good options there, and their pricing is actually really, really good. So let me log in here real quick, and I'll show you their pricing, just so I'm not telling you something that's not true here. Email verification. Where are you? Where are you? I don't want to do documentation. So this is for what? This is everything. Yeah, you get everything in here. Email validation up to 99.9% accuracy, which is great. Let's see. Don't care about fraud users or anything. And this plan, where's my pricing? Oh, well, free forever, I guess. But it only includes up to 5,000. I think if you want more, it's really, really, really cheap if you want more. So I think that they have like overage pricing. I don't know where it is, but I swear I saw it in here at one time. And it was like 50 cents for 1,000 lookups or something like that. It was really good. Or maybe what I did was I did the math on it. Maybe that's what I did. 50,000 lookups for $500 a month. So I don't know, something like that. But anyway, so that's a great way if you want to clean your lists to get set up with that. All right. And you want to make sure it's good and clean. And then lastly is the email contents.